How are you guys doing? This is another episode to post on my YouTube channel, DyingMan-to-DyingMen. This is the third video that I make, and as you guys are aware, we are going through the topic of religion and the nature of it. And what's interesting is I am actually at a park right now, and kind of one of my favorite parks in Flagler, and this is where I've got a pretty long history of devoting myself to the Lord and spending time with Him over here. It's such a great park. It's got sentimental value to me. I've done many beautiful nights out here, and I have very good testimonies of reaching out to people in these areas. Anyways, it is a beautiful day, or actually a beautiful evening. It's getting a little dark and it's a little chilly out, but it just looks awesome. And by the way, this iPad, it's not the greatest at capturing audio, so I'm kind of hoping that you guys can hear something. But I think this is a great setting to kind of switch it off from the home boring offset. So last video we talked about the nature of religion, and we talked about the fact that when we were created by God with a sense of an inclination towards acknowledging Him and towards religion, if you will. Excuse me, there's just people passing by. But we talked about, we read that the Bible informs us that man was created in the image of God. And not only created in the image of God, but there's a sense in which we are able to reflect the very nature of God to a finite degree. God is infinite, we are finite, but we can still mirror some of the attributes and attributes of God. Like God has a will and a volition, and so do we, and God is a rational being, and so are we. And so we talked about the fact that that's how God created us. He created us in His image. And what happened was that after Adam and Eve sinned, the question was asked is, did mankind lose the image of God? And the answer to that is no. The image of God was marred. It was it took a serious fall. But nevertheless, we were still able to retain the image of God in us. And there's a sense in which we talked about, or when we talked about last time, that if you went to the primitive tribes, no matter where you go, you're going to find a form of religion in those circles. And that's a testament to the presence of religion everywhere. And so from the atheistic communities, the charge was that religion is invented by man, that it's a psychological response. It's a psychological response to things that we fear. For example, like we fear hurricanes and earthquakes, and we fear the diseases and death, and so we make up religion or a god or gods in plural to rescue us from these calamities. So that's really all it is. We talked about it being an opium for the masses. It is something that dulls our senses to allow us to be able to carry on in life and hope that there's really somebody out there that's going to save us and rescue us. And I also talked about the fact that, hey, listen, if we were to invent religion, that we would never conjure up in our minds a God who is both holy and just and who's going to hold us accountable. And so the God of the Bible, who has revealed Himself to us, is certainly that type of being. He is a being who is morally upright, and who expects the same from his creatures. And so that's what we talked about last time, that there is religion in all of us to some degree, whether you deny it or not. So this is what I want to read in the next portion of the book of Louis Berkhoff. It says that missionaries testify to the presence of religion in some form or other among all the nations and tribes of the earth. So all the missionaries in the world who have gone to different tribes all testify that, hey, yeah, we see religion everywhere. In some form or another, they're worshiping something or someone, okay? So there's a a form of religion in these places. And then it says, it is one of the greatest blessings of mankind, though many denounce it as a curse. And we kind of harped on that, right? We asked the question, like, well, if it's supposed to be a blessing for us, being made in the image of God, to be able to reflect his character, and to be able to reflect his character amongst each other, then why do some people consider it to be a curse? Why are some people saying, oh, well, to me religion is stupid, or to me religion is like man-made? Why do some people consider religion to be a curse? And again, we talked about the fact that it has to do, even according to Romans 1:18, it says that God is angry at humanity, and he is actually wrathful against humanity, because what humanity has done, is that they have actually suppressed the truth of God in unrighteousness. And so what happened is, I'm trying to find the best lighting. I'm not sure if this is picking up. So according to Romans 1, what's happened is, like, mankind has suppressed the truth of God. And so it says that as a result of mankind not wanting to honor God, then God's response back to humanity is that he continues to give them over to a debased mind to do the things that ought not to be done. And so the idea is that as a result of mankind repressing the truth about God, then God also says, okay, that I'm going to leave you to your own devices so that you can continue in your path of sin, and you continue to incur your debts. And then eventually you're going to have to pay for those. And so what ends up happening is people don't want to accept that. People hate it. People flee from it. And so, but you can never eradicate it. This is akin to whenever traumatic experiences happen to us, and we know that they're painful, and we don't want to think about them. The last thing we want is to have God, what do you call it, rattle the skeleton or whatever. I don't even know that's the proper, but we don't want him to go into our closet where we have all of our secrets in there, including our sinful life. And so we would rather ban God out of the whole equation. And so that's why some people denounce it as a curse. And this is what it also says. I'm just going to read this last sentence to wrap it up. It says, not only does it touch the deepest springs of man's life, but it also controls his thoughts and feelings and desires. So it's basically saying that sorry about the whole shakiness. I don't have, and it's kind of cool because if you see the water down there, I'm kind of trying to hold on to the iPad with a kung fu grip, making sure I don't lose it. So Berkhoff is saying that religion, it touches on every aspect of human life, including the mind, the heart, right, the will, and all of the affections of humanity. And so I think that is so on point, because when I look at my own life, I have to be honest and ask myself, hey, is that true? Does religion actually touch on every aspect of my life, including my mind? And the answer is yes. For me, it is, because I don't put my feelings in God without thinking. I also don't think about God without feeling. And so I also don't just think and feel, but I will. Right? There's a certain will that comes from me saying, yes, I agree with God. Yes, I need to worship him. Yes, I need to glorify him. And so I will that, And of course, we talk about the fact that all men are dead in their sins and trespasses. And we believe as Christians that the only way me, Danny, can properly have the proper thoughts about God, and not only the proper thoughts about God, but the proper heart to feel towards him, and not only the proper heart to feel towards him, but to also have a will that says, yes, I agree with God, I'm a sinner. Yes, I agree with God, he is just and righteous. Yes, I agree that if he judged me according to his perfection, then I'm gonna fall short. And so all of these affections and thoughts after God are only true because, again, like I said last time, those are true only because he has first found me, because he has loved me, and because he has given his son to be the one who carries my burdens and the one who carries my sins. And so I look at that and I say to myself, wow, that this eternal God, the eternal God who created me, the infinite, immeasurable being who is unchanging, who is 100% righteous, that I am actually unrighteous. And in my unrighteousness, I have actually rebelled against him. And he actually shows me mercy and seeks after me and gives me a heart to desire now the things of God. That kind of clarifies for me exactly what Louis Berkhoff is saying, that it affects everything as far as our emotions, our will. And if this is not you right now, if you are in a place in your life where you are saying, well, I don't care about God, I don't have any will towards him or emotions, I don't even think God exists, then of course that's where God in his word says to you that you are only suppressing the truth about God in unrighteousness because you would rather do the things that you want to do and be autonomous rather than submit to the authority and lordship of God himself, and even seen in the face of Jesus Christ, whom the Bible teaches us that every knee will bow to him. And you might not see him as king now. You might not think that he's all this, you might just see him as a historical figure. But he has said, like, he's going to come to judge the world. And it's not going to be fun. So, I want to say that even though we're going to be getting deeper into this religion thing and kind of define, the next time I make a video, I'm going to define what the Bible says about where the word religion comes from, and also what's the seat of religion, meaning where does religion actually come from? Is it just the mind, the heart, and so on and so forth? But that's what we're going to touch upon next time, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to continue to do these videos. It always feels awkward for me because I'm not a big media guy, but like I said, I titled this YouTube channel "A Dying Man to Dying Men." And I'm going to just say one last thing about this whole dying man to dying men in this video, is that when I say that I am a dying man preaching to dying men, I'm using the word dying in both cases in two different senses. And I'm saying that I am a dying man only in one regards. And I'm preaching to a dying man in a different regard. I'm saying that I'm a dying man in regards to me being limited in my life here and the now. In other words, I'm gonna die eventually. Whether it's the next 20 minutes I drop dead, or whether it's 20 years from now, I'm gonna die. And so in that sense, I'm a dying man. But I'm preaching to dying men in the sense that they're not just dying as I'm gonna die physically. These men are also dead spiritually, and so the word changes in both of those instances, and that's what I mean by I am a dying man, and I want to preach to dying men who are not only dying physically but are also gonna die spiritually. And so the plea for me is to be able to say, listen, like, flee to God and embrace his love. He's calling you to embrace his son Jesus Christ. And so at this point we say, like, Jesus is able to save to the uttermost those who draw near to him. And so this is our plea. This is why we and I say we say as Christians, right? But this is a special plea for you to run to Christ. If you have already done that and you are one who are born again and are watching this channel and these videos, then hey, listen, this is an encouragement for us to be able to say, wow, like, I was also at one point in my life fleeing from God, and I was also the one who was living my life in unrighteousness, and God in his love stooped down to my level, if you will, and not only subsumed my nature, right, in the face of Jesus Christ, but he has actually taken my burdens upon himself, and thus showing how far he's willing to go to I was going to say to win me back, but that's so blasphemous, but to see how far he's willing to go to pursue me. And not only to pursue me, but to win me over, if you will, right? To win me over, because there's a sense in which he's doing that with love. And I see that and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, he actually loved me. And so, and then he has a way of accomplishing that is beyond us. And so I'm just saying this by way of encouragement to those who have accepted Christ as their Savior, to continue to be worshiping Him, glorifying Him, because He is renewing the loss of, again, I talked about that last time. He is renewing the image of God in us that was lost, not fully, again, in our parents, Adam and Eve. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. 15 minutes into it. I guess it looks like all the videos are going to be anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. And to say this lastly, anything that I say, test it with the scriptures. Look at Romans 1:18 and read it all the way up to verse 32, up to the end of the chapter 1, which I think is up to 32. And read it contemplatively, read it prayerfully, and ask the Lord to reveal these things to you, because I'm just a man and I am not the ultimate authority. The Word of God is. So it behooves you then to look at the scriptures and search these things out for yourself, because there is no greater thing that you need in this life than to get right with God. And lastly, I'm going to say this: if you're looking for the wisest man that ever existed according to history, that was Solomon. And even in the book of Proverbs and in Psalms and in Ecclesiastes, we hear words like this: the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And so I pray that that's true for you now. God bless you.